good afternoon. Welcome to the Work Cultured Podcast. Today, I am delighted to have Sara Fuentes. Sara is coming to us from the Silicon Valley area in California. And I'm going to read this directly off of LinkedIn so I don't mess it up. Sara is the founder and president of SmartWaste Incorporated, and she is also the current chairwoman and was vice chair for 12 years. I love seeing that, of the Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability. So, Sara, welcome to the show. We're so delighted to have you. I know that you, if I remember correct, you were a co-host of a podcast that y'all spoke specifically kind of focusing on your industry.
Yes,
And y'all did 50 episodes
yes,
before ultimately signing off. So I love
yes.
that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes,
Yeah,
I still talk trash. That's one of my
I
favorite
love
things to do.
that.
As a longtime trash talker, all puns intended.
I love it.
I love talking about material, the end of life of material, the beginning of life of material, and actually how the everyday person interacts with material. And well, I'll say this, which is people are funny about their money, and people are funny about their trash. You
Okay.
can learn a lot about someone in their garbage. You can learn their secrets, and I promise I won't tell. Um, and the same thing about their money, right? Like we don't want people looking at our money, just like how we don't want people looking at our trash.
I love that. That's funny.
Yeah.
So tell me a little. We kind of were talking offline. Tell me a little bit more about kind of your career, because you started out in thinking you were going to be an educator and even began your career in education, and then kind of made
Yeah.
this shift. Kind of tell me a little bit more about that and how you got to this place.
So, I majored in earlyhood child development in an emphasis to work with children with special needs. I'm a caregiver. I take care of my uncle who's 60 years old, who's special needs, and I've been his caregiver for the last 8 years, but I live with him. And I wanted to pursue education to work with people that, were not like everyone else in the world. I did that for about 6 or 7 years, and I was broke as a teacher.
Yeah.
You don't make a really big salary. I was making about $60,000 a year, and as a single woman, that seems decent. But in the Silicon Valley, it's a grind.
Yeah.
So I decided to learn financial services, and I became a broker in financial services. And then I decided to do probably the most craziest thing ever, which was get pregnant and become a mom. And that really grounded me and changed the trajectory of my career because in the financial service industry, you're working 40 to 70 hours a week, you're traveling all the time, you're going from city to city to state, and I couldn't do that as a young mother and my first time having my child. So I ended up coming back to California. At the time, I was trying to further my career in another state, and I used to work for this garbage company as a dispatcher, and I really loved the drama. Like I loved the garbage drama, the problems with the bales, the problems with the overloads, and I just found it so fascinating as a young college student. So when I came back to California, I had called that owner and I said, "Hey, are you hiring?" She said, "No." And then a week later, she's like, "Get your ass to the office at 10 o'clock." And I didn't ask no questions, how much money I was going to get paid, how many hours I'm going to work. I just showed up. And that's something to be said about when you want to be successful. So that's a nugget right there. So we'll
Yeah.
come back to that. Um, and she had said that, hey, you used to work with kids, you used to be a teacher. And I said, yeah. So she said that they got a contract with Pittsburgh Unified School District and that they needed to implement a composting program and if I could help. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about composting, but she's like, oh, don't worry, I'll train you in a couple weeks. We'll talk again. So I went through the training, and nothing like getting thrown out into the field day one,
Yeah.
right? In the trash business, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. And let me
Wow.
tell you, day one, I was looking in trash bins and learning
Wow.
about what material is and interacting with the people that are generating our garbage. Well, let's fast forward to like a year later into the program, where we ended up implementing a robust compost food waste collection program at that district, implementing a farm to fork program with Pittsburgh Unified School District, and getting national recognition at the White House with Michelle Obama. And
That's
this
amazing.
program was a program that really catapulted my love for the trash industry because it humanized business, it humanized the impact, and how really trash does touch every single person. We touch it every single day, right? And so that's really what got me interested in loving this industry. During COVID, I decided to leave that company that I had been working for.
And you worked
Um,
there for almost a decade, is that right?
yeah, a really
Yeah.
long time. And I took a chance, and I figured, you know what? The world's shutting down. I can't go do things. I need to stay at home with my uncle because my uncle wasn't understanding why he couldn't go outside and why he had to
Mm.
be restrained. And it was causing a problem at home because he was basically telling me I was taking away his human rights, which did have a
Mm.
valid point, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, and I had to stay home with him, and I asked at the time my brother and I were living together, and I was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna need you to pay rent for like 3 months. I'm gonna quit my job, and I'm gonna start a company." And my brother's like, "I got you. I believe in you." And that was all I needed. I said, "I need 90 days." I said to him, "90 days is all I
I
need."
love that.
I didn't know how I was. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Still don't, but I got to figure it out. And literally, I was incorporated by August 25th, 2020. I had my first contract signed by September 2020. And I've never looked back. My first contract was a company here, a tech company, that was wanting to get ISO certified, and they hired us as a consultant. So my first job under SmartWaste was a consulting for ISO certification for their environmental management systems. And
I love that.
we still do consulting work, but our focus is zero waste facilitation for the public and commercial sector.
So pretend I have no clue what that means, and sum that zero waste up in, like, what is the elevator
Sure.
pitch of why that's important?
So, zero waste facilitation, and I'll just start with this, which is SMART stands for save money and reduce trash. So,
Mm.
smart waste, our focus is to help commercial and public businesses or public sectors save money and reduce their garbage footprint simultaneously. Now, oftentimes, companies or organizations or the public sector, they're generating material, and that material is either going to the landfill or getting processed for recycling or refurbished to be used for something new. Um, the ideology around zero waste is to first and foremost minimize material going to the landfill while maximizing capturing commodities. Okay, and so we want to capture the commodities, and we'll just say a commodity is plastic, metal, and paper, and food waste. We want to capture those commodities so they're not being spent in the landfill. Um, and when I say spent, because it's still being captured as methane in some landfills, right? But that takes a longer duration of time to actually get the value from that material. If
Sure.
we were to redirect that material to actually be processed as a commodity, we'll get the value of that faster in our economy. So the implication around zero waste is that the business will offset some of its spend by reducing less trash that's being sent to the landfill by creating it to become a commodity of value sooner in that economy whether it is in their local economy or a domestic economy. And as Americans, what I find is that we have been in a system of this, hey, we got to recycle, but then this fallacy, it's not really being recycled. So then we felt like, oh, we're being duped by the system or the
Yeah.
man, so to speak, right?
Yeah. It's always the
So,
man.
in terms of zero waste, it's really around creating your waste stream into a commodity or a resource and minimizing it going to the landfill and the spend on putting it there because you're putting it in the grave to die there, right? um, or giving it an extra life and extending the life of the material to create economy and to minimize the output there. Because the thought process is if around garbage, and this is where sometimes people don't understand, is that yeah, you bought your Starbucks cup, your Starbucks, right, for $4 or $5. But was that really the cost of that coffee? The cost of the coffee went away, but the cost of the plastic cup and the straw is still there. That is a implied cost of 15 cents for the plastic of your physical for the physical material, but an environmental cost is still we're still paying the price, right? And
Yeah.
so we are looking at that too when we're talking about zero waste and how the price that we're paying because we're not putting the value on the material and really what it is. Because when we send plastics to the landfill, they're not breaking down and they're not creating methane. So then we're not getting any value from it. And so there's still a cost. But we're not actually, in my opinion, capturing the adequate cost. So the thought process around zero waste is really helping these businesses minimize their cost while simultaneously creating a commodity for them out of the material that they're generating. And I'm not there to tell them stop generating material because we're not going to stop that. Right?
Sure, sure. And y'all are primarily focused in California only at this point, right?
We have the ability to do business nationwide. I've done projects, construction projects in Pensacola, Florida, North Carolina, Idaho. We've installed solar mega 300 plus megawatt solar fields, working with in solar builders and clean tech businesses around the nation because they want to properly manage their waste stream and they want to turn it into a commodity or wherever they're deciding and they're doing business, they understand that that local area, those people need jobs too. And this
Yeah.
is also creating economy in those areas because we're asking for the workers to come from those areas. We want the economy to stay locally. When we
I
as a
love that.
nation decided to start sending our material overseas, we're taking away a couple things from our own self, which is the control of the commodity and then the opportunity for work within our own country or in our own community. And then wondering why people want to, are struggling with jobs. So
Yeah.
for me, it's also around for businesses that we work with, we have three core values, Daniel, at SmartWaste. And our core values are transparency, circularity, and people. As I mentioned, that the waste and recycling industry has a reputation for not being so transparent.
Yeah.
So us at SmartWaste, we want to practice that, and we also want to work with businesses and leaders that practice that, and that will also teach us their ways as well, right? Um, Circularity, based on this, what I just shared with you, the circular economy is a local economy,
Yeah.
not a global economy. We can't have the circular economy and our core values is around circularity, and the circular economy is a local economy. And then our last core value is people. I believe the greatest investment in the world is people, and I'm going to continue to invest in people. And why do I want to help businesses save money and reduce trash? Is because there's people that live there. There's people that deal with it. We want to keep a clean, safe, healthy place. A clean place is a healthy place. A clean city is a healthy city and a safe city. And so
Sure.
that's why it's important to me at SmartWaste that we keep things clean because it makes our kids and our families feel like they're in a safe place. And we know this when we come into clutter. So, so those that's a little bit about SmartWaste and kind of our my journey in getting into the trash business and why I like to talk trash.
I love that. And I was going to bring up your core values because you got it even on your LinkedIn. So I'm glad that you brought that up. So as you think about this career that you've built and you've been in leadership for a long time, and I know I have people all the time and they say, I've got more than one and you're welcome to share more than one, but can you think of what is the greatest mistake that you've ever made in leadership that you'll never forget?
Ooh, I think sometimes people uh, want to be in leadership and they want to have the leadership title, but they're not willing to take on the responsibilities and the work that and the what the role really requires. Um, I think that as a young entrepreneur, we often romanticize what entrepreneurship looks like based on what we see on TV or on social media. And I will say is that not taking the risk on myself sooner. Um,
Mm,
Oftentimes because, we're told that, hey, starting a business, there's all these odds that are against you and the opportunities for failure. But I feel like that one of my things that I wish that I would have took that risk sooner versus later. Now I understand that, hey, I'm still young and I was in my, late 30s when I started my business, but needless to say, I would say definitely not taking the risk sooner. And not that that's a big failure in leadership, but also I feel that sometimes we want to be in a position of leadership or authority, right? As an entrepreneur or in leadership, but understanding that leadership is also still being a servant. And also
yeah,
understanding that when you are a leader, you also are displaying what it's like to be a follower. And I think sometimes, um, I'll admit this that your ego can get in the way of being humble and being
yeah,
corrected and not willing to actually listen. So I think that you know leaders can get blinded by their own success
sure.
and forget their sense of humility. And I really strive to stay grounded and in touch. If
I
that
love
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah. One of my favorite books is called The Ego is Your Enemy.
Ooh,
And I'll be honest with you, Sarah, I'm not like sitting down and reading. It's something I wish I did more, but most of the time when I read these days, it's audiobooks.
yeah.
But that particular book, I've been on this journey of understanding and kind of overcoming my own ego. And I found that book, honestly, it was about 4 years ago now. And
Wow.
I was going on a trip with some friends to Puerto Rico for one of their 40th birthdays. And they all got there a day early. I had my kids that weekend. So I said, hey, I'll get to y'all late Sunday night. And then we're still going to have, Monday through Friday. And so this book was like 150 pages. I read half of it on the plane.
Wow.
I couldn't stop. And then Monday morning on the beach, they're all laughing at me. We're on the beach. Everyone's having the time of their life in the water. I couldn't stop. I'm like, y'all, I have to finish this book. It is, I mean, even thinking about this book, it, I mean, it fucked me up in the best way possible, you know?
Yeah,
So I love hearing when other people share what they've learned about their own ego. I mean, it's a fascinating thing to understand.
I think that it goes into like when you know who you are, right? When you
Yeah,
know who you are and you know your identity. And oftentimes I feel like that people's identity, and I'll just say, my identity as a single woman can be attacked because I'm a single mom, right? That could be an attack. But I know who I am. And I also know that for me, um, I'm willing to take on the roles and the responsibilities of what I say I am, and they're congruent. So there's a couple issues. There's the condition of not taking your position that you're supposed to be in.
yeah,
So as a leader, you can have that. You can call yourself a leader, but you're not really acting like a leader, right? Or you don't take the title as a leader and not willing to follow the function as a leader when you're a
yeah,
leader. It's for me. It's like when you take on that title, you're not living the function. It's dysfunctional.
yeah. Well, and if no one's following you, are you really a leader? You
No,
know? Yeah.
because you what technically, even if you have followers, um, I wouldn't say that you were a leader. If you had followers, I would say that you have followers. I would say a leader has other leaders that are following them.
Mm,
They have other individuals that are there also supporting them in their ambitions. You see that in great leadership that have great partners that oftentimes are there to help them navigate through the fight of entrepreneurship or the fight of life, or you might have a great partner to help you fight through your domestic life. Like you see that type of happen, and I think that sometimes leaders oftentimes think they have the right things or the right equipment, and your self image is really important. And I do think that our thinking gets to be trained. I do think that we as leaders get to train ourselves on what we think, how we think, who we allow to put in thoughts in our mind, what we listen to, and the discipline that goes around that. Because there is discipline that goes around with what we say, how we act, and who we communicate with because of the influence that we want to have, and also the influences that we are allowing in ourselves.
mm.
To me,
Yeah,
I'm a
there
little
it takes
guarded.
a certain level of control, huh?
Yeah, you have to be. I think it's really important as a leader, especially if you're open to open to failing. I am open to failing. I don't look at it as a bad thing. I know I'm going to make mistakes. I know I might lose my temper. I know I might cry one day. That doesn't make me a bad human being. It doesn't make me a bad leader. It makes me a human being, right? And so I
Yeah.
think that knowing those things about people, because I think sometimes we tell ourselves a story about the people that we admire, that they're this perfect being, that they never do anything wrong, or when something bad happens, that they're going to behave in this particular way, and then when they don't, we change our story about them, that they're this, that, and we're going to cancel them. Where's our grace? Where's our understanding?
Yeah.
Where's our empathy? So I also think that also being able to understand as a leader people in general, not and manage that. Yes, I think as a leader I want to be extremely positive and think the best of people, but I also understand that there's some crummy people out there.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I one of the first leaders that I ever worked for, I quickly early in my career was elevated into leadership roles, and because I was a top producer, And I remember um, my boss saying, "Look, as a leader, here's what that means. You're the first one here. You're the last
That's
one to
right.
leave. If we're having an event, I need my leaders out there setting up, and I need my leaders out there tearing down at the end of the night. Like you're setting an example
Exactly.
to everyone else of what it is that a leader does."
Yep.
And he said, if I don't replicate leaders to follow me, I'm not doing my job.
Nope.
And I absolutely, I mean, I still am in contact with him from time to time. Absolutely love him. He was fascinating. And so I loved hearing what you were saying because it makes me think that somewhere along the way in your life that you had similar leaders that spoke that truth into you, and I'm assuming that the people that work for you get that same
I sure hope
from
so.
you.
I sure hope my board at Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability feel like I build them up as I build their person, their character, their professional development, because I strive to build people up. That's one of my, I think, my callings in life is
I can
to
tell.
add and edify what I see. I think sometimes, and I know some people do things without recognition, and I respect those people because I feel like I'm one of those people, right? Um, but I also feel like there's those people that live their whole life without recognition, and they deserve to feel like a king or a queen, whether it is for a moment in time or for a day while they're around SmartWaste, right? Like
Yeah,
if it's because think about the custodial staff or the garbage people that come and take your garbage out every single day and it's magically gone.
yeah,
You hardly ever see us, and when you do, you complain about how loud we are, that we made too much noise, or we dropped something on the ground, and it's never thank you. It's never thank you for keeping our place clean. Thank you for doing it as quietly as possible. Thank you for doing it and not causing not avoiding pests and
yeah,
thank you for keeping just like keeping this consistent even, right? Thank you for being reliable. So I think in leadership, there's definitely levels, and we talked about that, which was like that position level. That's like a very lower level of being a leadership, where you're at this position, then you're getting permission, then you're producing, as you said, right? And then you're developing people. And then
yeah,
one day you're going to be like a leader like Martin Luther King, that anytime that someone says their name, you're going to have this sense of nostalgia. One
yeah,
day someone's going to say Daniel Hamilton. One day someone's going to say Sarah Fuentes. And it's going to have this type of like, oh, I respect that person. One day we'll get to that level of leadership. When in the meantime, we're going to work through these steps of leadership, right? And
yeah.
us as leaders, we get to continue to refine our skill.
I love it. Sarah, you should write a book one day. I love your take on not only life and business, but on people and leadership.
Thanks.
And I think many other people would agree. I've really enjoyed having you as a guest today. And as we wrap up, one of my kind of favorite things, because it's just a little quick personal. I'm going to ask 5 quick questions. You can probably tell by my shirt here on the first one. I always like to start with my favorite. And it could be neither of these. There
Okay,
are
okay.
plenty of people that say, hey, it's neither of these. It's actually this.
Okay.
So the first one, golf or tennis,
Oh,
or neither.
uh, neither. I would have to say baseball.
Baseball. All right. I love it. Who's your team?
So you're gonna laugh. It used to be the Oakland A's, and then the Oakland A's left me. So now I'm a bandwagon Dodger fan.
Okay. Okay. As a kid, basketball was my first love, but baseball was my second love.
Oh,
I coached baseball when I was much younger, 9 and 10-year-old boys for
oh, I
three
love
seasons,
that.
and I was a massive Ricky Henderson fan.
Oh, I got to
Like,
meet him. I got to send you some stuff that I
did
got.
you
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Yeah,
he's so
like
cool.
that was wow, why am I getting choked up? But there are certain times when, like even yesterday, Val Kilmer, immediately I'm thinking of a couple of his movie roles
Yeah.
that jumped out at me. But yeah, Ricky Henderson, I was a huge fan. Loved Ricky Henderson.
He's so cool. He used to come
So
out to the stadium all the time and he would meet us fans and stuff.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah, sadly here in Austin we don't have a professional baseball team, but we do have a double A
Mm.
baseball. Or are they triple A? The Round Rock Express, and they feed into the Texas Rangers
Oh, I
now.
see. Okay, cool.
And so actually today is opening day
Woo.
for our first home
I
stretch,
love that.
and they're doing dollar hot dogs. So I think we're gonna catch
Heck yeah.
the game tonight, which is
You gotta
great.
send a
I
picture
love
to
that.
me. You gotta send a picture to me. I
Yeah,
gotta see that.
I love it. And I'll tell you this, not many people know this about me, but when I was in high school for 2 seasons in Shreveport, Louisiana, we had the Shreveport Captains. They were the double A affiliate of the San Francisco Giants, which is very random. But my seventh grade Sunday school teacher was the general manager. So for 2 seasons, I was our mascot, and it was fantastic. It was a boat, like a ship
That
captain,
is
and
so
from
fun.
here to the top of the head was a 2 foot tall captain's head, like an old man. I'll definitely send you a picture of that.
That
Yeah, I love it.
is great.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay, my second one: tea or coffee or neither.
Ooh, coffee.
But I just saw your coffee. So what did you get? Was that a like a frappuccino?
Okay, so a 5 shot espresso over ice with 6 pumps of sugar-free vanilla, half and half, 2 stevias, and heavy whipping cream. If you ever want to send me a coffee, that's what you could send me. Espresso on ice.
I thought I loved you, Sarah, but now we're best friends forever.
Yeah.
That is the greatest Starbucks order I've ever heard. Now, I will be. Let me ask, are you familiar at all with Dutch Brothers?
Yeah.
Do y'all have Dutch Brothers?
In
So
Sacramento.
we have a Starbucks, like I'm talking half a mile away. Um, but like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we had a Dutch Brothers open, and I'm talking I can walk to Dutch Brothers in 5 minutes. Girl, Starbucks who? Like
Yeah. It's like,
I have become a hoe
oh,
for
they have
Dutch
a whole
Brothers.
secret
Like
menu. They have a whole secret menu. So I gotta send this to
a
you.
secret,
Yes, I learned
please.
about it from my brother. So I gotta offline. We gotta talk about this whole
Yeah, we can't be telling too many secrets. Oh
secret.
my God, I love that. Okay, so here's a favorite one, especially I'm very curious to know with where you live. Are you more of a mountains or beaches girl?
Ooh, hard.
I know, right?
I love going to Castle Rock State Park and going out there, but I also love all the beaches.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I love Yosemite and the Grand
Oh, I
Canyon.
love that.
Oh, that's hard. But I'll just say the beach
Yeah.
because
How close are you to the beach?
I'm 35 minutes away from the beach.
Okay, I love that.
Um, but I'm also 10 minutes away from the mountains. So it's like
Wow.
it's kind
I'm
of,
very jealous.
we have a slack line. We have a bouldering pad. So
I
my
love that.
idea of rock climbing is sweeping a rock and laying on it.
I love that. All right. So, and this one might be a neither whiskey or beer.
Ooh, whiskey.
Whiskey. Okay.
I don't a beer makes me bubbly. Whiskey, you get a different kind of Sarah.
I love it. I'm like 90% sober these days, but when I do have a drink, it's usually a whiskey drink. So I love that.
That's nice.
And then my second favorite outside of the first question is, are you more of a morning person or a night owl?
Ooh, I'm an early bird. Um, I
Okay.
think, and I'm also like, so this, I know some people are night owls, and the night owls, they They don't understand us early birds. And when I wake up, I literally am ready to sing. I'm ready to go. I don't even need the coffee, but I have the coffee as an extra perk. Um, I love being up in the morning and just kind of getting things going. I do wake up relatively early. For a really long time, I didn't have blinds in my room, so I could just wake up with
I
the
love
sun,
that.
and
I love
it
that.
it, it really built my nocturnal system on its own. So even now, when my blinds are closed, I know that it's the sun's up because I could feel it, which is really weird, but it worked out that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that for a while. I lived on the third floor in this apartment and I lived in the very back. And I had throughout my entire apartment, every window I left the blinds wide open because all I saw was woods and the sun, like I was facing south. And so I never had direct sunlight, but yeah, I would just get woken up by the gentle
Yeah,
sun and I had bird feeders
yeah,
outside my window. Like,
it's
oh, I
next
love that.
level. It's
Yeah, so
there's
good.
certain things and times things in life that you just gotta like, oh, that's more than no TV, no virtual reality. This is real.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Sarah, it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that we got to do this and so glad that we are connected. I look
Thank
forward to
you.
staying connected in the future. We are going to sign off for now. And thank you so much for being on the Work Culture podcast.
Thank you so much.